my name is Shelly and welcome to my February wrap-up. So the lighting is going to be weird because the sun is literally going in and out of clouds. I can't control it. I don't have blinds over my windows. February was a month. Not a good month. I've talked about this before in a couple of my last videos where it's been probably one of the worst months in a really long time. Reading-wise, I read some pretty good books, but I also DNF'd a lot of books to the point where I kind of forgot which books I DNF'd. I had to check Goodreads and my previous videos because it's been one of those months. I guess we'll just start the wrap up with the DNFs, and we're gonna do a rapid one because I can't remember much about these books, so we're just gonna go and do it rapid style. The second DNF I did was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. So this book is a gothic competitive romantasy. And when I picked it up, I didn't really realize that there was a lot of competitive element to it. And as I was reading it, I realized that I don't like competitive stories. Like Game of Thrones, what's that one? Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was a lot of fun, and I really did enjoy that when it came out. But then we were bombarded by all these dystopian competitions, and I stopped caring. So I picked this up, and not realizing that it was such a big part of it. I really should have read the synopsis more carefully, but here we are. So I think I got to about 75 pages into the book before I realized that it just wasn't for me. And also it really reminded me of the Carnival series, which also didn't work for me. So I decided to DNF this, and I don't think I'm going to be picking it up anytime soon. Another DNF was another romantasy, and that is Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the fourth book in the Plated Prisoner series. I devoured the first 3 books in January. I was obsessed with it. It was like my world for about 2 weeks. And then mainly because I just probably overexerted myself on that series and romantasy as a whole, I just kind of lost interest, and I picked it up hoping that I would want to jump back into this world, and it just showed me that I need to take a break from romantasy. So that's on pause. I will be completing the series eventually. I have all the books. They're beautiful, beautiful books that are upstairs. So I will be continuing. It's not a priority for me. And the last DNF I have is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. And this one I am so bummed about because although I really enjoyed this book, I felt like the gothic setting and just everything about it was just so interesting and so well written. But when I picked it up, I was at a time where I'm like, I can't do romantasies anymore. I can't do romantic fantasy anymore. No matter how good they are, I just need a break. So this one is a definite pause. I'm going to pick this up hopefully in the next month or so and continue the duology because I'm all about short duologies and short series right now. So yeah, that is like, it's not a forever DNF. It's just I'm putting a pause on it. I can't force myself to read a book if I know that I'm not going to have a fun time. I'd rather wait till I'm in the mood to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. On to what I actually finished in February, and honestly, it's only 4 books, so this will be quick. Okay, so I talked about this a lot in I think a recent read. Also, I talked about it in my last vlog that I did, and that is The Failures by Benjamin Lyer. I just loved this book. It was everything that I needed at the time. I picked it up at the perfect time. This is a dark fantasy with a lot of sci-fi elements to it. So it's not like you're not in space or anything like that, but you are on a planet that is like a mechanical planet, and there's a lot of weird things happening. You're following a lot of different characters that do not connect at all. And it's one of those books that the more you read, the more confused you get about the story, because it's not a linear story. And it's very confusing, and the writing will not be for everybody. So I don't recommend this to everybody, but I do recommend this to people who like the Dark Tower series, Gideon the Ninth, and what was the other comparison I made? I made another comparison in one of my videos, and I'm blanking on what it is right now. But those two for sure. If you like that weird kind of setting where you're not really sure what's going on, but also you like a little bit of crasser characters, I do recommend checking this out. I gave this 5 stars, and I am so excited for the sequel. There is no release date yet, but I am watching and waiting for it to happen, and when it does, I'm definitely going to pre-order it and read it when it comes out. The second book I finished in February is another sci-fi, and that is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I actually started this book in January and I finished it in February. I was reading it in between a lot of other audiobooks, but towards the end I just crashed it because I love this book. I love it. I need to continue on with the series. Obviously, this is a 5-star book, and I totally understand why everybody puts this on their top 10 sci-fi list because it was incredible. It's almost like a collection of short stories, but it's written in a way where it's like you're on a ship with a small group of people, and each person is kind of telling their story of how they got to where they are and why they're going to this planet Hyperion. Some of the stories kind of really didn't work for me. There was 2 in particular I'm thinking about that I just really didn't like, but the rest of the stories, especially the last one, I loved, and I need to know, so I'm definitely going to be continuing on with the series, and I've already pre-ordered the beautiful Broken and Binding edition. It's going to be a series that I'm going to be slowly reading throughout the year. Highly recommend it. So much fun. Loved it. The next book was a buddy read I did with Morgan from Book Panda, and that is Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinniman. This is the second book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Love Dungeon Crawler Carl. I talked about this in my recent wrap-up, and honestly, if you haven't picked it up, give it a try. I know it has like that lit RPG kind of stigma, and it is a lit RPG, but it's so much more. It is so entertaining, so much fun. The characters are so endearing. Carl is hilarious, and from what I heard, the further the series goes, the more serious it gets. But right now, it is very much just fun, good time, hilarious. Just if you need to kick your feet up and just have a good time and forget the world exists, this is a really good series. And I highly, highly recommend the audiobook. 100%. I didn't love this book as much as I loved the first book. I feel like the first book was just it was almost a wow factor. It was very unlike anything I've read before, whereas this was just kind of continuing on with it. I think I ended up giving this about 3.75, but I am very curious to see what is in store for Carl and Princess Donut. I just love these 2, and I'm so excited to continue on. Okay, and for the last book that I finished in February was Shards of Honor by Lois McMaster Bejeweled. I just talked about this in my recent wrap-ups video. So I finished this probably the last day of February, and I listened to the audiobook, and it is the first book in the very large Vicosian Saga series, and which is a sci-fi series. So I wasn't really sure what I was getting into when I picked it up. I just knew that Angela highly recommended it and has been gushing about it for a year and a half, so I decided to pick it up. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is pretty interesting. The audiobook narrator, I can't even explain. He has a very elegant voice, but the way that he presents the information is very casual, if that makes sense. The way that he narrates it is just so unrushed, casual, that it takes you a moment to realize something crazy is happening. It's kind of it trips me up a bit. That also could be the writing style as well, and some of the characters. So in this book, we're following Cordelia, who is on a survey team on a planet. They're attacked by a different group, and she's basically taken prisoner by Vicosian. In the beginning, it's very much like a survival story where these 2 characters have to make their way to the safety of their ship. So the story does time skip months at a time, and I found that was a little jarring, especially since this book is very much written in a very almost cozy way, but it's not cozy. It's so hard to explain. But I do have to say, I really do like Lois Bejeweled's writing style. I think she's a very interesting style, and I really did enjoy it. I did really enjoy Cordelia's character. I thought she was very unique. I don't want to give anything away, but she has a very unique perspective to the world around her, and I really did enjoy all of that. So this book was a book that I had difficulty rating because I did really enjoy the world building, the writing, and the characters. It was just sometimes how the information was presented didn't really work for me. So I have trouble rating books like that, where it's I appreciate the book, but my enjoyment factor just doesn't meet the same standards, I guess. It's one of the occasions where I've decided not to rate this book. So as it stands, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I am curious to see what happens in the future. So I will be picking up the second book eventually one day. So of course, during the shortest month of the year, I read the least amount of books. Hopefully March will be a better reading month for me. Fingers crossed. Comment down below. Let me know what you read in February. Let me know what you read in February. If you had a similar reading month to me, I don't know, let me know. If you want to comment but you don't have anything to say, you can leave a sci-fi emoji because I read a lot of sci-fi in February. If you like this video, please think about liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!